Welcome to the Elderly Health Channel. Today I'm going to show you how to prevent heart attacks with 7 powerful vegetables. Now let's get started. It wasn't pain that woke Walter up. It was something far more subtle. A soft flutter in his chest, a strange sensation behind his eyes, like his balance was off before he even stood up. At 74, Walter had grown used to the little quirks of aging, the stiff knees, the creaky joints. But this felt different. He sat on the edge of the bed, waiting for the dizziness to pass. It wasn't the first time, and like always, he muttered, "Probably just low blood sugar." Then he shuffled to the kitchen and made his usual breakfast, toast and coffee, nothing more. But that morning, his daughter Emily stopped by. She glanced at his pantry, raised an eyebrow, and gently said, "Dad, when's the last time you ate something that actually feeds your heart?" That question stuck. By that evening, a small list appeared on his fridge. Not from a doctor, but from Emily. Garlic, beets, leafy greens, olive oil, walnuts, tomatoes, simple things. Real food. Not a miracle, that just nature doing its job. Walter didn't overhaul his life overnight. He started slow. A spoonful of olive oil over his salad, a handful of walnuts between meals, a clove of garlic in his stew. But within 2 weeks, the fog in the mornings began to clear. The flutter in his chest faded. His steps felt more confident. This wasn't magic. It was the body responding to kindness, to fuel, to care. And as Walter stood by the window one morning, holding a warm mug of tea, he realized something had shifted. Not dramatically, not loudly, but deeply. Because healing doesn't always start with an ambulance. Sometimes it starts with breakfast, and the quiet decision to listen to your body before it's too late. Garlic, the natural shield against silent stroke. Frank didn't expect much from a clove of garlic. To him, garlic was just something his wife used to saute with green beans or throw into spaghetti sauce. It made the kitchen smell like home. Sure, but medicine? That sounded like a stretch. Still, he remembered what his daughter wrote. And that morning, he sprinkled some crushed garlic into his eggs, half curious, half skeptical. But what Frank didn't know is that garlic has been used for centuries, not just as a spice, but as a healer. And now, science is catching up with what grandmothers across the world have known for generations. Garlic is good for the heart. Really good. Inside every clove is a compound called allicin. It's released when you crush or chop garlic, and it's the reason for that strong smell. But beyond the scent, allicin works quietly inside your body. It relaxes blood vessels, improves blood flow, and helps reduce high blood pressure. Think about that for a second. A natural food, helping your blood move more freely. No side effects, no warnings in small print, just a simple plant doing what it was made to do. Frank started eating garlic a few times a week. Nothing fancy, just mixed into soup, roasted with vegetables, or stirred into mashed potatoes. After a few weeks, he noticed something subtle. His blood pressure readings were more stable. No wild spikes, no unexpected lows. And at his next checkup, his doctor raised an eyebrow. "You've been doing something different?" she asked. Frank just smiled. The truth is, garlic doesn't just help with pressure. It also helps with cholesterol, specifically LDL, the bad kind that clogs arteries. Garlic slows the buildup of plaque, keeping those arteries flexible and open. It also has antioxidants, which fight the kind of inflammation that leads to heart disease in the first place. And maybe most importantly for people like Frank, it helps prevent blood clots from forming, reducing the risk of a sudden, silent heart attack. That part matters more than most people realize, because a blood clot doesn't send a polite warning, it just stops the flow. And sometimes it stops everything. But garlic helps keep things moving. Still, it's not about eating it by the handful. Garlic is powerful, but it works best as part of a bigger picture. Frank didn't throw away his medications. He didn't ignore his doctor. But he added something small and steady, something real. And over time, that made a difference. Now, some people don't like the smell. That's fine. There are aged garlic supplements, odorless tablets, and even garlic-infused olive oils that do the trick. But before taking anything concentrated, especially if you're on blood thinners, it's smart to talk with your doctor, because garlic does thin the blood. A gift in the right dose, but something to respect. Every time Frank cooks now, he thinks of that note on the fridge. "Eat for your heart, Dad." It's faded a little, but still taped right next to his calendar. And each time he minces garlic into his dinner, he feels like he's doing something, not just waiting for bad news, not just hoping his heart holds out, but doing something that matters. Garlic isn't a miracle, but it's close. It's the kind of medicine that comes wrapped in paper skin, smelling strong and a little stubborn, just like Frank. And the best part? No prescription needed. Tomatoes, the red gift that keeps your arteries open. Frank wasn't the only one trying something new. Across town, Uncle Ray had his own quiet routine. At 79, he had long retired from his job at the post office, but every morning he still woke at 6:15, put on his slippers and prepared breakfast with the same care he once used to sort mail. His favorite part? A few slices of ripe tomato, still cool from the fridge, placed neatly on whole-grain toast with a sprinkle of salt and a gentle drizzle of olive oil. It wasn't fancy, but it was sacred. Uncle Ray didn't always eat this way. Years ago, he shrugged off his high cholesterol like it was just part of getting old. "I feel fine," he'd say, even when his test results told another story. But one autumn day, his neighbor collapsed from a heart attack while raking leaves. He survived, but just barely. That was the wake-up call. Ray realized he didn't want to wait for one of his own, so he started paying attention, reading, asking questions. And time and again, one food kept showing up: tomatoes. Tomatoes aren't just colorful, they're powerful. They're packed with lycopene, a natural antioxidant that gives them that bright red color. But lycopene's real strength lies in what it does inside your body. It neutralizes oxidative stress, one of the biggest threats to your arteries. Over time, this stress can damage the lining of your blood vessels, making it easier for plaque to stick and harder for blood to flow. Lycopene helps stop that damage before it begins. It also helps reduce LDL cholesterol, the kind that clogs arteries and forces your heart to work harder than it should. In simple terms, more tomatoes, less pressure on your heart. And there's more. Tomatoes are rich in potassium, a mineral that older adults often don't get enough of. Potassium helps counteract the effects of sodium, which is hidden in so many processed foods. Too much sodium tightens blood vessels. Potassium helps relax them, bringing your blood pressure down and making life easier on your heart. Uncle Ray didn't need a science degree to notice the difference. After just a few weeks of eating tomatoes daily, sometimes raw, sometimes roasted, often in soups, he started feeling lighter, more stable on his feet. At his next checkup, his doctor smiled. "Whatever you're doing," she said, "keep doing it." The real magic happened when Ray learned that cooking tomatoes with a bit of olive oil makes lycopene more absorbable. The gentle heat unlocks it. Suddenly, even his simplest meals, a bowl of tomato soup or a spoonful of sautéed vegetables, felt like they were doing something more than filling his stomach. They were feeding his future. Tomatoes aren't flashy, they're not exotic, but they're one of the most powerful allies your heart can have. Accessible, affordable, and endlessly adaptable. And that's what makes them extraordinary. Now, every Sunday, Ray's granddaughter visits for lunch. She brings fresh bread, he brings the tomatoes. They talk, laugh, and eat together at the same kitchen table he once shared with his late wife. It's a ritual, a promise. And though she doesn't know it, that simple plate of red slices is part of what's keeping him here, for her. Tomatoes won't make you immortal, but they'll help your heart keep pace with your life. And for those of us who still want to walk unassisted, sleep without fear, and wake up feeling steady, that matters more than anything. No pills, no prescriptions, just food that remembers you. Spinach, the gentle leaf that calms the heart at night. Linda used to dread the nights. Not because of nightmares, but because of something worse, uncertainty. She would drift off just fine, but somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m., her body would betray her. Her heart would start racing. Her chest would flutter. Her hands would tingle. Sometimes she'd wake up gasping, disoriented, unsure if she was having a dream or a heart attack. Her doctor called it benign arrhythmia. A harmless flutter. But it didn't feel harmless at 2:17 in the morning, when she was alone in her bed, gripping the edge of the mattress and waiting for it to pass. She tried meditation, breathing techniques, even over-the-counter sleep aids. Nothing helped for long. Then one afternoon, while browsing a shelf of health books at the library, a single sentence caught her eye. Spinach helps restore nitric oxide and calms the cardiovascular system during rest. She didn't fully understand what that meant, but she remembered the word, calm. So Linda gave it a try. At first, it was just a handful of fresh spinach tossed into her dinner, then a small bowl of spinach soup before bed. Within 2 weeks, she noticed something. The heart flutters didn't come as often. She was sleeping deeper, and when she did wake up, she felt more grounded, less shaky, less anxious. What Linda discovered without meaning to is what scientists now confirm. Spinach is one of the most powerful plants for heart health, especially at night. You see, spinach is rich in natural nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes your blood vessels and allows blood to flow more freely. When your vessels are relaxed, your heart doesn't have to pump as hard. Your blood pressure goes down, your rhythm evens out, and your body feels safe enough to rest. That feeling, safety, is what Linda had been missing for years. But spinach doesn't stop there. It's loaded with potassium, which balances out sodium and helps prevent nighttime spikes in blood pressure. It's also filled with magnesium, folate, and antioxidants like lutein and quercetin, which protect your arteries from the silent wear and tear that builds up over time. Spinach isn't loud, it doesn't promise quick fixes, but it works, quietly, steadily, night after night. Now, Linda ends each evening with a simple ritual, a warm bowl of blended spinach soup with a touch of garlic and olive oil. She lights a small candle, turns off the television, and listens to the sound of the neighborhood winding down. Her heart doesn't race anymore, and if it does, she no longer fears it. She understands what her body needs, and she gives it that. No prescriptions, just a gentle green leaf that helps her sleep without fear. Some people think healing has to be hard, complicated, wrapped in warnings and dosages, but sometimes healing looks like a bowl of soup, a quiet moment, a night without panic. Spinach gave Linda back her nights, one leaf at a time. Red cabbage, the purple shield against pressure and plaque. Harold never used to care much about color. He was a meat and potatoes man, raised during wartime rationing when food was about survival, not style. But something changed after his second blood pressure scare. The numbers were climbing. His energy was falling. His doctor mentioned the word atherosclerosis, and Harold didn't like the sound of it. He was a tough man, an old Navy vet who'd seen enough storms at sea, but he wasn't ready for the storm brewing in his arteries. That's when his daughter brought him a salad. Not just any salad. This one was bright purple. It had thinly sliced red cabbage, apple slivers, and just a splash of vinegar. "It's called antho something," she said. "Good for your heart." Harold raised an eyebrow, took a bite, and to his surprise, liked it. He didn't know it then, but that purple crunch was packed with something powerful. Red cabbage gets its deep color from anthocyanins, natural plant pigments that act like bodyguards for your heart. They reduce inflammation, protect blood vessels, and even lower the risk of plaque forming in your arteries. That means less stiffness, less narrowing, and a much lower chance of a sudden heart attack. In fact, studies show that people who eat anthocyanin-rich foods regularly, especially older adults, have a significantly lower risk of heart disease. In some cases, the risk of heart attacks drops by as much as 32%. And it's not just the anthocyanins. Red cabbage is rich in vitamin K, which supports blood vessel health, fiber, which helps lower LDL cholesterol, and potassium, which works to keep your blood pressure stable, especially when sodium levels creep too high. Harold didn't memorize the science. He just noticed that after adding red cabbage to his meals a few times a week, he had more stamina on his morning walks. He didn't feel as winded when carrying groceries, and when his daughter asked how he was doing, he simply said, "My numbers are better." It became part of his routine. A little red cabbage tossed into slaw, folded into wraps, or steamed lightly with garlic and olive oil. It was inexpensive, easy to prepare, and most importantly, it made him feel like he was doing something that mattered. Now, each Saturday morning, Harold sits at his kitchen table with the sun pouring in. He chops his purple cabbage slowly, mindfully, placing each slice in a wooden bowl. "This stuff," he says to anyone who visits, "this is what's keeping me off those pills." And he's not wrong. In a world full of prescriptions, red cabbage is a quiet rebel. No label, No warnings, just a humble vegetable with the power to ease pressure from the inside out. For seniors living alone, far from emergency rooms and daily check-ins, it offers something priceless: protection. A way to fight back against the silent threat of hardened arteries. A way to feel like your heart is still yours to care for. Harold may not be young anymore, but with a bowl of purple crunch beside him, he doesn't feel fragile. He feels prepared. Chili peppers, a little heat to keep the heart alive. Doris used to avoid spicy food. "Too much for my stomach," she'd say, waving away the hot sauce at family dinners. But after her husband passed, something in her shifted. It wasn't just the loneliness, it was the fear. The kind of fear that creeps in when your body feels different and you don't know why. Her hands tingled more often. Her heartbeat sometimes felt uneven. The doctor told her everything looked within normal limits, but nothing about her body felt normal anymore. Then, during a conversation with her son, who happened to be reading up on nutrition, he casually mentioned, "You know, a little chili pepper might actually help with that." She laughed at first. Chili peppers? At her age? But he wasn't joking. Capsaicin, the active compound in chili peppers, does more than tingle your tongue. It helps dilate blood vessels, improving circulation and reducing the workload on your heart. That means your blood moves more freely, carrying oxygen and nutrients exactly where they need to go, without putting your heart under pressure. And there's more. Capsaicin has been shown to help lower LDL cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and even support fat metabolism. It's like a fire that burns away what your body no longer needs, slowly, safely, naturally. Doris wasn't convinced until she saw a study from the American College of Cardiology. People who ate chili peppers more than 4 times a week had a 34% lower risk of dying from heart-related issues compared to those who didn't. That got her attention. So she decided to try. She started small, just a few slices of red chili in her soup, a sprinkle of cayenne on her roasted vegetables. Over time, something changed. Her circulation improved. Her legs didn't feel as heavy during evening walks, and the strange flutter in her chest, it became less and less frequent. Doris began to crave that tiny kick of heat, not just for the flavor, but for the way it made her feel. Alive. In control. As if her body wasn't slipping away from her, but responding, little by little, to her choices. Now, on Saturday mornings, Doris visits the farmer's market. She picks out fresh produce, including her favorite small red chilies. "They're not just for young folks," she says, winking at the vendor. "They're for women who still plan on dancing at their granddaughter's wedding." And she means it. Of course, chili peppers aren't for everyone. Some people may need to be cautious, especially if they have digestive issues. But for many older adults, just a little spice added to soups, stews, or scrambled eggs can be a simple, powerful way to support heart health. Not all medicine comes in bottles. Sometimes it comes in the form of a bold red slice, a flicker of warmth on your tongue, and a reminder that your heart, your life, is still full of heat. Broccoli, the quiet green that strengthens from within. Tom didn't think much about broccoli. To him, it was a side dish, something you steamed, salted, and pushed around on the plate. He'd eaten it plenty of times in his life, mostly to please his wife, who loved adding it to every meal. But after her passing, Tom went back to simpler habits: sandwiches, canned soup, the occasional frozen dinner. Food was fuel, not comfort. Then one day, during a routine checkup, his doctor looked at his scan and said something that made him pause. "There's early calcification in your arteries." Tom didn't know what that meant at first, but the word calcification stuck with him. Hardened arteries, less flexibility, less room for blood to move, more work for his heart. And at 70, Tom wasn't looking for more reasons to worry. He went home, pulled out an old recipe book his wife used to keep, and flipped to a page she'd dog-eared years ago. Roasted broccoli with lemon and garlic. It felt like a sign. Broccoli isn't flashy, it doesn't come with hype, but inside those little green florets is something powerful, a combination of antioxidants, fiber, potassium, and magnesium. Each one a quiet warrior for your heart. The antioxidants help reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, the twin culprits behind plaque buildup and artery damage. The fiber helps lower LDL cholesterol, sweeping it from the bloodstream like a broom through a dusty hallway. Potassium keeps blood pressure steady, and magnesium supports a steady heartbeat, something most people don't realize until they feel it wobble. Tom started roasting broccoli twice a week, just olive oil, a pinch of salt, a little garlic. Nothing complicated. Over time, he began adding it to soups, omelets, and pasta. And though he didn't feel anything dramatic, his energy returned slowly. He noticed he didn't huff going up the stairs anymore. His blood pressure was more consistent. And at his next appointment, his doctor said, "Whatever you're doing, keep it up." What struck Tom most wasn't just the numbers. It was the feeling. The quiet knowledge that he was doing something right, that his meals weren't just keeping him full, they were keeping him here. Broccoli has also been linked to less arterial calcification, especially in older adults. In one study, women who consumed more cruciferous vegetables, like broccoli, had significantly healthier arteries. That matters when you're trying to stay independent. When you still want to garden, drive, dance, laugh. Tom never imagined a vegetable he once ignored could become such an anchor in his life. But now, every Sunday, he prepares that same broccoli dish from the recipe book. He even keeps the page folded, just like she did. And in the smell of roasted garlic and lemon zest, he feels her presence. Not just in memory, but in practice. Because sometimes, strength doesn't come from lifting more weight or walking farther. It comes from what's on your plate. And the quiet greens, they often carry the loudest hope. Pumpkin, the golden comfort that soothes the heart and soul. Calvin always had a sweet tooth. In his younger days, he never said no to a slice of pie, especially pumpkin, his late wife's favorite. But after he turned 74, something changed. It wasn't the sugar he craved, it was comfort. Warmth, a sense that his body was still working with him, not against him. For years, Calvin struggled with uneven blood pressure. His readings would spike in the evenings, just when he was trying to unwind. The doctor mentioned vascular tension and nighttime hypertension. All Calvin knew was that his chest felt tight and his sleep came in short, broken pieces. One night, after waking from a dream that left his heart pounding, Calvin went to the kitchen. He wasn't looking for a snack. He was looking for something that felt safe. He opened the pantry and saw a can of pumpkin puree. He paused, then smiled. What would Eleanor have done? He whispered, "Probably made soup." So he did. What Calvin didn't know is that pumpkin is more than a fall treat. It's a nutritional powerhouse for heart health. Its bright orange flesh is rich in potassium, a mineral that helps lower blood pressure by relaxing the walls of blood vessels and balancing out the effects of sodium. Just 1 cup of cooked pumpkin gives you over 500 milligrams of potassium, more than a banana. Pumpkin also contains beta-carotene, an antioxidant that the body converts into vitamin A. This compound helps prevent LDL cholesterol from oxidizing, which is a key step in the formation of arterial plaque. When LDL oxidizes, it sticks. When it doesn't, it flows. That night, Calvin added a bit of cinnamon, a touch of ginger, and warmed the puree into a smooth, golden soup. It wasn't fancy, but it reminded him of her, and that alone helped him sleep deeper than he had in weeks. Over time, Calvin made pumpkin a regular part of his routine. Not just in soups, but stirred into oatmeal, baked into muffins with no sugar, and even chilled into a creamy smoothie on hot afternoons. His blood pressure stabilized, his mood lifted, and most importantly, his nights became peaceful again. He also began adding pumpkin seeds to his meals, tiny, often overlooked treasures packed with magnesium, healthy fats, and antioxidants. Magnesium, especially, is crucial for maintaining a steady heartbeat and preventing the muscle cramps and palpitations that so often plague older adults at night. Now, every evening before bed, Calvin sits with a small bowl of warm pumpkin soup. He lights a candle on the table. No television, no noise, just stillness, a soft hum of jazz from the radio, and the gentle assurance that he's doing something kind for his heart. Pumpkin won't erase grief, it won't change the past, but it can offer comfort, protection, a sense of rhythm when life feels uneven. And sometimes the simplest comfort food is also the most healing, especially when it comes from the earth. Especially when it comes from memory. No pills, no prescriptions, just warmth in a bowl and the soft thump of a heart that finally knows how to rest. There's a kind of strength that doesn't show up in blood test results. It's the strength to choose again and again, even when no one's watching. The strength to try a new meal, to walk into the kitchen when your body feels tired, to peel garlic when your hands are stiff, to keep believing that something small might still make a difference. Frank believed. Linda believed. Uncle Ray, Harold, Doris, Tom, Calvin. Not because they expected miracles, but because they were tired of feeling helpless, tired of waiting for bad news, tired of letting fear lead the way. And so each of them made one small change, just one. A new ingredient, a different dinner, a soup instead of a pill. And in those quiet daily choices, they found something bigger. Control, calm, hope. Linda hasn't taken a sleeping pill in over 4 months. She says her spinach soup helps her drift off without fear. Calvin no longer wakes up with pounding in his chest. He says his pumpkin ritual feels like a hug from his wife. Tom's numbers have improved, but what matters more to him is walking up the stairs without needing to rest halfway. None of them cured their hearts, but all of them began caring for them. With food, not fear. This video wasn't about magic foods or silver bullets. It was about remembering that you still have power, that your kitchen is still a place of healing, that your heart, bruised, tired, or scared, still responds to love, and food, when chosen with care, is love. So here's our question to you. Gently tap the number that speaks to your story. Tap 1 if you've ever woken up with a racing heart or leg cramps at night. Tap 2 if you've ever felt afraid to walk alone, worried your balance might fail you. Tap 3 if you've started making small changes and you're already feeling the difference. Drop your number in the comments below. Not just for us, but for someone else who needs to see they're not alone. If this video brought you comfort, clarity, or courage, hit like and share it with someone you care about. Sometimes a single bowl of soup can start a new chapter. No prescription needed, just a plate, a spoon, and a heart that still wants to go on. See you in the next one. Stay steady, stay curious, and be kind to your heart.